Good day, students. Welcome to mathgotserved.com. In this clip, we're going to be going over part 2, problems 6 to 10 of the Quantitative Reasoning, Algebra and Statistics release questions of the next generation Accuplacer practice test. Let's take a look at question 6. It reads, the amount of money M in dollars Paul earns can be represented by the equation M equals 12.5H plus 11, where H is the number of hours Paul works. Which of the following is the best interpretation of the number 11 in the equation? Okay, so first of all, we're going to take a look at the formula that will guide our problem solving process, okay? So for a problem of this setup, we're going to use a formula that you might not expect. The formula that we're going to use is the slope-intercept form of the equation of a line, okay? So we have a linear growth scenario here. What is the slope-intercept form of the equation of a line? It is y equals mx plus b. Okay, so y is a function of x. So what is important here is to note the role that m and b play. Okay, m is the coefficient of the variable and b is the constant. Alright, so m represents the growth rate. This is also known as the slope or rise over run. Okay, b is the base amount or the constant. So it's base or something you know as a y-intercept in the equation of a line. This is a constant. That's where you start plotting your growth rates starting from x equals 0, which is the y-intercept. Okay? Now, if you take a look at this equation that we have right here, it's in exactly the same format as this equation that we have. So y, let's change colors here. So y is equal to mx plus b. So we have y equals mx plus b. If we switch variables and look at this function that we have right here, which represents the amount of money, m in dollars, that Paul earns, we're going to have m equals 12.5 times the independent variable h plus the constant 11. Alright? So what does this tell us if we compare it with the slope-intercept form equation? Well, it tells us that the coefficient of h right here, this is the rate per hour. Okay? That's how much Paul earns per hour. So rate per hour. And then this amount right here is the constant or base amount that's added to each hourly wage. Okay, so base wage, which is a constant that's always going to be added to how much Paul earns. Okay, so let's take a look at some examples to help us understand what's going on here. So m of 1 represents how much Paul earns if he works 1 hour. So to get this, we're going to multiply 12.5 times 1 plus 11. Okay, and we'll do the calculations. We have 12.5 plus 11.0. That's going to give us 23.5. Alright, so this is the amount of money he earns if he works how many? 1 hour. Okay, for 1 hour he earns $23.5. How about 2 hours? For 2 hours, m of 2, we have 12.5. You notice what we're doing, right? We're multiplying the rate per hour by the amount of hours and adding on this base figure right here. Okay, so here we have 24 plus 1, which is 25, plus 11, we have $36. Okay, Alright, so hopefully this examples help you to understand what this function is doing. So this is for 2 hours. Um, Alright, so now let's go ahead and take a look at the options that we have here and see if we can match these options to the different components of this model that we have here, m equals 12.5h. The amount of money in dollars Paul earns each hour. How much does he earn per hour? That's the rate per hour. Okay? The rate per hour is what? 12.5. Is that what we're looking for? No. The question asks for what is the significance of the number 11? Okay? 12.5 represents the rate per hour. Let's take a look at option B. The total amount of money in dollars Paul earns after working 8 hours. The total amount of money he earns is M. M of H, which is 12.5H plus 11. Option B represents what this model that's given to us computes. Option C, the total amount of money in dollars Paul earns after working for 1 hour. That's a special case of this function again. We're going to be looking at M of 1. We already computed what that is, 12.5 times 1 plus 11, which is 23.5. That's not what we're looking for. Option D, the amount of money in dollars that Paul earns in addition to an hourly wage. So this is talking about that base wage that's added, constantly being added to how much he makes every hour. And what is that amount? That constant that's always been added is 11. So option letter D is the correct interpretation of what 11 means in this equation. So our answer is option letter D. Alright, let's take a look at question number 7. It reads, the table gives the population of the 5 largest countries in the European Union in the year 2014. Which of the following is the closest to the mean population of these countries? Alright, so let's get started by writing down the formula that will guide our problem solving process. Okay? So the formula is that of the mean. Okay, we're looking for the mean of, let's say, mean of a list of numbers. Okay? So the mean can be given by the following formula, which is the sum of numbers divided by the number of numbers that you have. Okay? In this case, we're looking at the population count for different European countries in millions. Alright, so let's start with the sum. We need to know what the sum is first. So the sum is going to be 65.9 plus 80.8 plus 60.8 plus 46.5 plus 64.3. Okay, so let's assume that we don't have the luxury of using a calculator here. What we'll do is we just basically add them 2 at a time. Okay, so we have 65.9 plus 80.8. Just add it downwards. 9 plus 8 is 17. 7, carry 1. 1 plus 5 is 5. 6 plus 8 is 4. Oh, we have the 1 there. So 6. And then 6 plus 8 is 14. Alright, and then we add 60.8. We're done adding these two. We're now going to add the third one, 60.8. 7 plus 8 is 15. 5. Carry another 1. 1 plus 6 is 7. 4 plus 6 is 10. 0, carry 1. And we have 207.5. Okay, that's added. So let's take 207.5. And we're going to add the next number, 46.5. We add that. 5 plus 5 is 10. 0, carry 1. 7 plus 7 is 14. 4, carry 1. 1 plus 4 is 5. We have 254.0. And then the last number is 64.3. Add that on. What do we get? 0 plus 3 is 3. 4 plus 4 is 8. 5 plus 6 is 11. 1, carry 1. We have 318 plus 0.3 as the sum. Okay? Alright, so we have the first part that we need. Sum of numbers is equal to 318.3. And then the number of numbers is just the number of numbers we added, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is 5. Okay, now we have all the information we need to compute the mean. So the mean is simply the sum of numbers, 318.3, divided by the number of numbers, which is 5. Alright, let's go ahead and compute this using long division. So we are going to have 5 divided by 318.3. Okay, so let's do our long division. We'll look at how many times does 5 go into 3? 5 doesn't go into 3. How many times does 5 go into 31? 6 times. 6 times 5 is 30. Subtract. We have 1. We bring down the 8. How many times does 5 go into 8? 18. 5 goes into 18 3 times, because 3 times 5 is 15. Subtract 3. 5 cannot go into 3, so we put a decimal point there. Bring down the 3. 3.3. How many times does 5 go into 33? 6 times, because 6 times 5 is 30. In this case, it's going to be 3.0. Okay? Subtract, we have 3. Put a 0. 5 goes into 30 6 times. 6 times 5 is 30. And then our answer is 63.66 million. If we round it to the 10th place, it's going to be 63.7 million as the average. So our answer is option letter C. Alright, let's take a look at question 8. It reads, which of the following fractions is equivalent to -6 minus -9 over 8? The procedure we're going to use for this problem is something known as the order of operations. Okay, this is how you simplify arithmetic operations. Okay, order of operations. What are my order of operations? Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Okay, which basically means we do parentheses first, exponents second, you multiply and divide from left to right, and then you add and subtract from left to right. Okay? Alright, so let's go ahead and let's write down what the letters mean. So this is parentheses. E is for exponent. M and D means multiply and divide. Multiply and divide from left to right. And then AS means you add addition and subtraction. Add and subtract. Okay? From left to right. Another thing you want to remember is what happens when you multiply signs. Okay, so let's say you multiply a plus times a plus. You end up with a plus. If you multiply a minus and a plus, what do you get? You end up with a minus. If you multiply positive times negative, you know multiplication commutes, right? So it doesn't really matter the order of multiplication. You should end up with the same answer, so this should be negative also. And then negative times negative is positive. So the bottom line is whenever you multiply identical signs, your result will always be positive. But if you multiply signs that are different, the sign of your result will be negative. Okay? Alright, let's go ahead and see what this numeric expression is equivalent to. So we have negative 6 minus negative 9 over 8. So this long division bar basically tells us that the entire numerator is grouped together. So to help us out, we just put the parentheses on the numerator like that, divided by 8. Now when you multiply these two minuses right here, minus times minus gives us a plus, so this would be negative 6 plus 9 divided by 8. Okay, let's go ahead and continue with the numerator. Negative 6 plus 9 is 3. Subtract and keep the sign of the bigger whenever you're combining numbers with different signs. 3 over 8 is our final answer, option letter B. Alright, let's take a look at question 9. Question 9 reads, water runs from a pump at a rate of 1.5 gallons per minute. At this rate, how long will it take to fill a tub with a 150-gallon capacity? We're going to start by writing down what the formula is for this problem. Okay, so this formula relates the amount, rate, the amount, rate, and time. Okay, the formula is A equal to RT. Amount is equal to rate times time. Think about it as the art formula. Okay, so there you go. This is the formula we're using. Now what do we need and what do we know? Let's start with what we're given. We are given the rate. See, rate here, we're given the rate R is 1.5 gallons per minute. We're also given the amount, okay, which is the total amount of gallons that the tub can take when filled to capacity. So A is 150. And then we need to find what? How long? What is that? That's the time, okay? We need to find time. Time is unknown. So we have the formula that relates these three measures. ART, we have one equation, so we can only have one unknown, which is good because T is the only unknown. We substitute 150 for A. For R is 1.5 T. The goal here is to solve for T. Okay? So what we're going to do is just make use of our knowledge of algebra to solve this. So what we'll do is divide both sides by 1.5t to get, by 1.5 to get t isolated. If we divide both sides by 1.5, we'll get t equals 150 divided by 1.5. Okay, because on the right side, the 1.5's divide out. Now, this is a neat little trick we can use when you're dividing numbers involving decimals. Put a decimal point here, 150.0. Now, we can move the decimal point in the numerator and the denominator the same number of times, an exactly equal number of times, and that will not change the problem. Okay, so we can move it one place to the right in the denominator and one place to the right in the numerator, and this quotient we have is equivalent to 1,500 over 15. This is as though we multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number, namely 10. Okay? Now we can divide with ease here. 15 goes here 1, 15 goes into 15, 1. So we have 100. So our final answer is going to be 100 minutes. Answer to number 9 is option letter B. Alright, let's take a look at question 10. This is a nice combination of geometry and algebra. It reads, the volume of a right rectangular prism is found by multiplying the length of the base by the width of the base by the height of the prism. A right rectangular prism has a volume of 30 cubic inches. If the height of the prism is 6 inches, what is the area of the base of the prism? Okay, so let's write down some formulas that we need. We might or might not need. So formula for volume of a rectangular prism. Okay, so the formula for volume is basically the area of the base multiplied by the height. Alright, but the area of the base of a rectangle, we know that from geometry, area of the base can be written by, given by length times width. If we make the substitution here, we have another form for the volume of a rectangular prism. V is also length times width for the area of the base multiplied by height. We have two formulas here. We need to pick one to use for this particular problem. Okay? Is it the area of base times height equals volume, or volume equals length times width times height? Based on what we're given and what we need to find, we will be able to determine the right formula to use. Alright, so what are we given? We're given the volume of the rectangular prism, which is 30, so we know V is 30. We are also given the height of the rectangular prism, H is 6. We're now asked to find what? We're asked to find let's look at the problem, the area of the base. So it says find the area. What is the area of the base? Okay, so find the area of the base. So the question is, which formula, 1 or 2, has V, H, and area of base? We can clearly see that formula 1 is the one that we are going to be using for this particular exam problem. Okay, so volume is equal to area of the base multiplied by the height. Now let's go ahead and substitute. The volume is 30, which is equal to area of the base, our unknown, times the height, which is 6. Now to get area of the base by itself, we need to get rid of the 6. So what we'll do is do the inverse operation, which is division. So we divide both sides by 6. And that gives us the area of the base, which is equal to 30 over 6, 5 inches. Sorry, it's a square. 5 square inches is the dimension of the area of the base. So answer to question number 10 is option letter A. Thanks so much for taking the time to watch this presentation. We really appreciate it. If you found the contents of this tutorial helpful in your preparation for the upcoming Accuplacer exam, to give us a thumbs up. Your positive feedback is very valuable to us. If you have any questions or comments about the contents of this tutorial, just feel free to place it in the comment section below, and we'll be more than glad to support you. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for updates to other cool tutorials such as this. More clips can be found on mathgotserved.com. Thanks again for watching and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.